Yeah, because who hijacks a plane
Right.
with a fox collar? I had on boots
My goodness.
up to my knees, okay?
That was Ida McCray. Welcome to Storied San Francisco. I'm your host, Jeff Hunt. In this podcast, Ida picks up where she left off in part 1, with her stint in a women's prison when she was still a teenager. She'll take us through the journey of the rest of her life, including some stuff you just have to hear to believe. Ida begins by talking about getting out of that prison. Here she is.
And during that time, I have to say, my boyfriend, who later became my husband, he wrote me every week.
Oh, nice.
And then when I got out, I married him at 15 years old.
Okay.
Yeah, and that's how I got the name Robinson, Ida Robinson.
Ida Robinson, okay.
Yeah.
McCray's the name you were born with?
Yeah.
Got it,
And I
okay.
got the name Ida Robinson. Yeah.
What was his first name?
Arnold.
Arnold Robinson.
But nobody called him Arnold, and they called him Ray. You know.
Yeah.
So you know.
Do you want to talk about why you were a fugitive on this podcast? You don't have to. I don't want to.
It don't bother me.
Yeah.
You know,
Well-
I was a fugitive because I didn't want to go to prison and get 50 years like my co-defendant.
Right.
That's real simple.
So, but for folks who don't know the story, because
Well, the
I
short,
want to hear it straight from
well,
you.
the short part of the story is I got involved with a guy, and his name was Neville, and I had some issues because he was white and I was black, and people made me feel bad, you know, and he
Right.
was my karate teacher over there at the, I forgot the name of the place, Praying Mantis, no it wasn't, it was another kung fu place over there in the marina near Fillmore, and I loved him, and I felt really guilty because people make you feel guilty. You're going out with that sister, you're going out with that white guy, and this, that, and the other. So I was so torn, you know? And what happened was, so I started going with this guy who I met at the Marcus bookstore. That was the only black bookstore we had here at the time. And he was behind the cash register. And in my young mind, well, he must be cool because he's behind the cash register of Julius and Dr. Richardson. Dr. Richardson was a master instructor of African American studies.
Okay.
And she used to teach at Golden Gate and at San Francisco State University. And she was this, she was a teacher. When she walked in, everybody just flocked to her, you know. So I said, well, she had him around the corner. He must be okay. Come to find out he was nuts and crazy.
Okay.
All right, but, you know.
You found out on your own.
Yeah, I found out
Yeah,
on my own,
yeah,
you know,
yeah.
and on my own is, you know, he had he was the person who, he's told such grandiose lies that it had to be true, because who would make up a lie like that? He was the son of an Indian chief and this, that, and the other, and
Wow.
and he was extremely, you know, crazy people are intelligent.
Yeah.
And I was like, wow, and I was trying to get away from the guy that I loved, which was Neville, you know.
Right.
And so I started going out with him, and he stole my car, and I couldn't go home. I had to go to my friend's house because if my mother and father found out that he stole my car, I would have to explain for it. And he went and he did a crime over there in Haight-Ashbury where he put acid in some woman's fish tank, and I guess one of the
goodness.
guys raped the woman, and then they came back, and here I was still at my friend's house, and he had taken my car. And I said, I didn't know 2 words because I was raised to be nice. I didn't know how to say fuck you, all right, which is bad because I was raised to be nice.
Right.
But I was just trying to find a way to shake him. So I thought I'd shake him, and he said, well, I'm getting ready. I'm finna go to LA to meet some other comrades, and I need you here. And I said, well, if I go with him now, maybe I can shake him there. This is in my young, naive mind.
Right.
So he said, here, you hold this one. And he had a sawed-off shotgun. Well, everybody had guns around that time because it was nothing a big deal. And then he gave me the pistol or whatever it was, and I hid it under the cradle, the car seat, that you could bring on the train.
Right.
And then when he went in there, he pulled this woman's hair, the stewardess, and said, "Take me to the cockpit." And I said, "Don't kill her. I'll help you. Whatever you do, don't kill her."
Fool him.
And just to make sure that he had some background, because I'm thinking if we up in the air and he shoots the plane, me and my baby are dying.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. Wait, you were pregnant? No, you met him.
No, I was pregnant.
You were pregnant.
I was pregnant from Neville.
Okay.
Yeah, the white guy.
When this all happened, you were pregnant.
Yeah.
Okay.
No, I had the baby. Yeah,
Oh, you already had the baby.
I had the baby, and
With
I was running from that,
Yeah.
because people in the pressure.
Yeah.
You walk down the street and they, "Sister, what you do?"
Yeah.
All that shit. And so I helped him in the hijacking, and instead of going to L.A., he said, "Well, go to Algeria."
Algeria. Okay.
So we were on our way.
Need a little bit more fuel for that, right?
Exactly.
You got to stop somewhere and get some fuel.
Exactly. And so since he was in the cockpit giving directions and whatnot, I was in the back holding my gun to the stewardess because I didn't want her to do nothing crazy.
Mm-hmm.
And I told her, "Just sit on your hands," because I figured if she sit on her hands, I would know if she moved. I said, "Just sit still," because I'm like it's crazy, but I'm trying to keep the peace.
Absolutely. Yeah. You were the good woman with the gun.
Yeah, and
What about the other passengers? Did they know what was going on?
We let the passengers out in Los Angeles.
In L.A., okay.
Mm-hmm. And a lot of hijackings happened then. So the passengers got off in Los Angeles. It was San Francisco hijacking.
Right.
And it was the Midnight Express, because they used to have a plane that goes from San Francisco to L.A. midnight.
Must have all happened pretty fast because those flights aren't very long. On that plane.
Everything happens fast when
really
it's
fast.
action like that.
Yeah.
Then we let him out, and then he said, "Okay." I don't know what he was saying in the front. I was just like, "Dummy, here I am with the baby," and then and then from there, everybody got off the plane. He said, "We're going to Algeria," because he was up in the cockpit and I was in the back, with this stewardess.
Mm-hmm.
Poor thing, she was scared to death, and I don't blame her.
Yeah.
But I really wasn't going to hurt her, but I couldn't tell her I was not going to hurt her.
Right.
Because she would take me on,
You had to keep that front up.
Yeah. Because during court she said, "Oh, the one with the steely eyes," but she didn't know me. How my eyes look steely? I'm just like terrified inside, but I couldn't move.
Right.
From my position, and so I helped him in the hijacking.
So after L.A., where did y'all go?
To Louisiana to refuel. Then we went to Florida to refuel, and then I'm thinking the FBI, they're gonna come up here, they're gonna kill us all. We all gonna be dead in a minute, But it didn't happen, and I read through the transcripts later that he said, "Well, since the plane won't make it to Algeria, well, Cuba then."
Okay.
And so that's how we got to Cuba.
Okay.
And as soon as I got over there, he dropped me like a hot potato because he used me.
Right.
And all the guys knew what was happening, because at that time, it was men would go in one room and talk, and the women would go in another room and talk. They knew what was happening. They weren't down with him, so he used me. I was thoroughly used because I didn't know how to say two words.
Right.
Fuck you and leave me the hell alone. When I got that feeling, I need to get away from this crazy motherfucker.
Yeah, you said you were still trying to think. You thought you were going to L.A. to fix it.
Yeah. Because who hijacks a plane
right.
with a fox collar? I had on boots
My goodness.
up to my knees. Okay.
I want to see pictures.
And it was,
sounds awesome. Sounds awesome.
But I'm just saying.
Yeah.
If you're going to hijack, you don't.
Right. It's not practical.
Yeah. And especially going to Cuba or Algeria with a fox collar and high boots. I had boots that come up to my knees.
Yeah.
And a coat.
Yeah. So you're in Cuba. Then what?
Well, he dropped me like a hot potato because he used me.
Yeah.
And that's what he was, a user. To some people, he was tall and handsome, and he had that mixed look, blondish hair and green eyes, and 6'4", and very vocal, we didn't speak anymore after that, really.
How old were you at that time?
I was 20 or 21. I was young.
Okay. But you're in Cuba. Then what do you do?
Well, you go and you talk to the policia.
Okay.
The militia there, and they take you to one spot, and they took him to one spot, and they question you, and then they put me in la casa de los secuestradores, which is a hijacking house.
Okay.
Everybody who entered the country illegally went to the same house, whether you
Okay.
came on a boat or however you came.
Right.
And I stayed there for a time,
Mm-hmm.
you know, until I was able to leave years later. I'm not going to go into that because it's too long.
Yeah. You came back, am I wrong, to Sacramento? Or eventually?
Yeah, I did
right?
came back to Sacramento, and that's
Okay.
where I got busted at in Sacramento.
Yeah.
Because I was underground, and my oldest son was giving my mother hell, absolute hell, you know. And
Was she with you there, your mom?
no,
Oh.
no, I couldn't tell her where I was because I knew everything was tapped,
Right.
you know.
Right.
But every now and then I'd go to another state and I'd call her, you know. And as they went to that state, I didn't live in that state, you know. And
But it was 16 years,
it
right?
was 16 years I was on the run.
Yeah.
Yeah, and for those 16 years I was in Cuba because we couldn't leave Cuba, you know, until Jimmy Carter became president.
Oh, there you go.
I love Carter.
Yeah,
I'm glad he has a long, nice life.
Just had his birthday.
Yeah, you know, blessings to him. He's good people. He's the greatest president I ever know.
I saw he and Rosalind married 74 years now.
He is a great man. He really is a great man. So, how I got caught is I came back to try to help my mother with my children. I had 2 by then, and because she took them, because I didn't want it happen to me what happened to Fred Hampton, where they go in there, and I'm in Chicago, because, you know, they just go in there and shoot up everybody.
Right.
So I got the kids to my mother, you know, so they wouldn't die, because I felt that I was going to die or get killed somewhere.
That's good mothering, though.
Yeah.
For your babies. That's,
yeah. And because I had a good mother, you know, so I knew what it was, and I knew how to model it, you know, and by all means take care of the kids. And so what happened is she was having a hard time, and I could hear it in her voice. She didn't say anything, but I could hear it when she called. So I came back here to try to help her, and I was underground. And Neville, my first baby's father, he's dead now, so I can say he took me in, and he lived in Sacramento, and he helped me, you know, come back here. And our son, had flattened the tires on my car because he wouldn't wash dishes, he wouldn't do nothing, and so you know, and he got mad. And I have to say his father did kick his ass. But Neville, you know, see, Neville's an artist. He was a kung fu master. I mean, not kung fu. I forget what type it was. You know, he did kick his ass for, you know, he wasn't trying to kill him, but he did beat him up, you know. And he got mad. My son got mad and went down the street and called the police and say, oh, by the way, my mother's the one in hijack her, and that's how I got busted. And they came to Sacramento and, you know, tore down the house, and because my son had been in the house, because I was trying to take him away from my mother, but he wouldn't stay, went back to San Francisco, because that's what he was doing, running, you know, running around, you know, doing shit, breaking into neighbors' houses, stuff that you don't do. You don't break into your neighbors and his houses. And that's the other reason Neville kicked his ass. Yes, Neville did kick his ass, you know, and I didn't do nothing. I let him kick his ass because he needed his ass kicked.
That's his dad.
And I'm not perpetuating violence. So here I am, the nonviolence teacher, but that's the way I felt.
Yeah.
You know.
So he turned you in, and you served some time, or
Yeah, I got 20 years.
20. Okay.
Yeah.
Did you serve all 20?
No, 10 and a half.
10 and a half.
Because it's old law.
Where
Yeah.
and was that in a federal
Oh
prison?
yeah, it's federal. Hijacking is a federal crime, honey.
Where was that?
Dublin, right here.
Okay.
Dublin, California.
Okay.
Then I got out of prison. I don't watch no shoot 'em up movies. I don't watch no cop movies. In fact, there's very few movies that I even watch. I'm a reader, you know, and I love documents, and I'm a teacher, instructor at City College here in San Francisco.
Right.
And right now I'm going for a vacation just to kind of get away from all this, and I'm coming back home. This is my home.
Right.
San Francisco is my home. And
Can we go back to when you got out, though? Because I want to hear. Did you or do you work for the sheriff's department?
yeah,
as well?
I work for the sheriff department. I worked there 22 years.
About?
That came about because I got angels.
Yeah.
I got spirits that walk with me, talk with me, and open doors that wouldn't open to most people. I was the only person who's probably ever worked at the San Francisco Sheriff Department that was on federal parole.
Right.
Federal parole.
Right.
Okay? Now that only happens because
It's
it's a
an
miracle.
unusual story.
Yeah, it's a miracle.
Yeah.
I'm not religious, but I am spiritual.
So were you brought in? Sorry.
I was brought in as a rehabilitation coordinator.
Okay.
All right. And
For adults?
yeah, that's all they have in the jail.
Right.
Is adults.
Yeah.
And so I said, well, if I did all this time, maybe I can help somebody.
Right.
And I worked there for 22 years, but to them it's really 20 years because it took me some time before they made me permanent, And you help get people in programs, and you help to talk to the people to say, if I can do 10 years, motherfucker, you can do a day or a month, okay?
Right.
Okay?
Right.
I'm not telling you what I read, I'm telling you what I did, okay? And in that, it helped them kind of navigate the system because they got a lot of two-faced people in there who feel that their job security is based on someone else's demise.
Right.
And I have to say I have helped a lot of people. I have helped more people than I don't even know because I see them sometime and they come up to me and say, "Oh, yeah, Miss Ida, thank you." And I'm like, "Okay," and I'm like, "Who is that?" And then I would I would bring their kids to see them because I was part of the parenting program, and when they can see and focus on family, that helps to them to focus on taking the shit that the bad deputies, not all of them are bad. Gerasimo's a good deputy, and we have a few other ones that are good human beings, that work there. But you had a lot of assholes that some of the good ones don't want to stand up to either.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So you treated them humanely, is what you're saying? The prisoners.
I treat everybody humanely.
Yeah. But that was unusual, probably.
Yeah, it was.
Them.
Yeah. So.
And then do you still work for them, or?
Hell no.
Okay.
Hell no.
You said 22 years?
Yeah, well, I worked as a, contractor.
Oh, got it.
Contractor, and for 20 years I worked for them as a city employee.
Right.
Yeah. So I worked the other time as a contractor. It was really a year and a half, but about 2 years.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, then can I ask how you got started with teaching? Did you teach at City College, or?
I still teach at City College.
You still do. How did you get started with that?
Down in Wilmot. My comrade's sister, who helped a lot of FALN, Fuerzas Armadas de la Revolución Nacional, she was teaching there. And she wanted to she was teaching a class on wellness for the formerly incarcerated. So she brought me in. And at the time, Tim Bertall, who was the chair, and he's a graduate of Stanford University, he saw the wisdom in it. And I had my master's degree. And he let me come in, and I was the only black person there who's been formerly incarcerated that long, and I had a hell of a class until March when everything had to go on Zoom.
Yeah.
It was horrible. I don't like Zoom at all.
Yeah.
Because I can't see you, feel you, look at your body language. Yeah, and our kids are not learning anything. And I say kids even though they're in their 20s because they're kids to me because my granddaughter's in her 30s.
Right. So
they're not learning.
Right.
Because for me, they're kinetic learners, meaning they learn by, I need to feel you. So I get in the classroom, I move around, they can feel my authenticity, and they know, number one, I'm not going to lie to them, and I'm not going to tell them no bullshit. And number three, I'm going to tell them how to get to your next stop.
Right. And
getting through your next stop is crossing your T's, dotting your I's, and moving every obstacle out of your way, even if it means being alone. And see, that's what you got to do.
Yeah.
Learn how to be with the self.
Yeah.
So I'm still teaching there when they call me.
Right.
As an adjunct.
Yeah.
So that was, I like teaching.
So I feel like we've talked about a whole lot of stuff here, and it's been really good. Thank you.
You're welcome.
But when I first showed up, you're moving out. You're moving on.
Well,
But you also talked about San Francisco as your home, born and raised.
Yeah.
Do you want to?
I'm moving for now.
Just for now.
I'm moving for now. I need a break from this place because somebody poisoned my dog here.
Right.
And I feel very uncomfortable. I love my dog, and I feel very, very uncomfortable.
Right.
So my not biological brother, my brother has a place there, and I'm going to just take a rest. I can do everything I'm doing through Zoom, but somebody poisoned my year-old Rottweiler, my puppy. And I could show you pictures. The dog, when they came from Pet Cemetery, all the blood just came out of my dog. I mean, I don't play that with animals. I love animals.
Yeah.
I'm
I'm sorry.
not too crazy about reptiles. I'm not into reptiles.
Yeah, me either.
They
Yeah.
don't resonate with me, but animals I love.
Yeah.
And I feel very threatened. We're the only blacks here in 4 or 5 block radius.
Right.
And I just feel I don't feel good.
I hear you. I'm
Because
sorry.
I don't know if it's the left or I don't know if it's the right.
Yeah.
You know.
I'm sorry that we're losing you, even if it's just temporary. But can I have you? Because you mentioned a couple of things, San Francisco's your own. Can I get you to kind of just reflect on it all, on this wacky town? I mean,
It's no community here because, years ago, people would get together and it seems like people cared about each other, And I've even noticed this for some of the newcomers. They come with disrespect.
Right.
They don't have that good old Southern teacher of listening and looking to see what's there. And I've seen them. I remember. Even in Fillmore, you go in a certain place and they're looking at you. You just get a vibe like, what the fuck you doing here? And I'm like, wait a minute. It's a vibe you get, You go to the Mission. You can walk for 2 blocks and don't hardly see any brown faces. Hello, what's going on?
Right.
And now since the pandemic came, and the people who were, have these $200,000 salaries and whatnot, things are changing. I welcome the change because when the crisis, there is a change. That's the old Chinese symbol that I'm looking forward to a better change.
Right.
And people learning that the way we get through this is by community, not by snarling and saying this one's this and this one's that, And because San Francisco, they had the they had the Black Panthers here, they had the Brown Berets, they had the Red Guard. This was a community. I went to school with Chinese people. I didn't speak no Chinese, but it wasn't this separation that's been brought a lot by lack of love for each other.
Yeah. What? So you're hoping to find a positive change when you come back?
No, I'm hoping to sit down, write my book, and do my sewing.
That sounds like a good life to me.
Yeah.
All right.
Me and my sewing machine. I have a really good friend up here who's been my mentor. I don't really know how to sew, but she's been holding my hand because it calms my nerves. And if anything you learn about your body, you just got to learn how to calm your nerves because trauma lives in the nerves. So in that, I have some machines that I've bought, and I'm happy with them because I step on the pedal in the metal and it feels so good. And I just grab some material. I don't even know what the hell I'm making half the time, but it feels good and it calms my nerve. So you got to find tools to calm your nerves so you can stay centered and grounded within yourself. That way we can see clear and find out that we're not each other's enemy. There's an enemy out there, but it ain't each other,
That was Ida McCray. On the next episode of Storied San Francisco, we'll get to know artist Jeremy Fish, whom we recorded at the Upper Haight Mansion, where Jeremy is in the midst of a month-long residency. Check back next week for episode 41. Music for Storied San Francisco is by Otis McDonald. Photography is by Michelle Kilfeather. The show is hosted and produced by me. Michelle and I have produced more than 130 episodes over the last 3 years, and you can find them all at our website, storiedsf.com. We're on Twitter, Instagram, and Facebook, where you can like, comment, and share the stuff we put out. Find the podcast just about everywhere you can listen, including, most recently, BFF.FM's new podcast network. Please subscribe to stay up to date on all the content we publish. We love feedback, so if you have any, our email is storiedsf@gmail.com. Thanks so much for listening. Stay strong, stay safe, and stay healthy.
This podcast is a proud member of the BFF.FM podcast network. Learn more at podcasts.bff.fm.
BFF.FM, best frequencies forever.